Greetings, people of Earth. It's me, Rabid. How's it been? Been quite some time since I made a video. So today I'm going to discuss. You may have noticed that I've not been updating. You probably have noticed that I haven't been uploading videos for a while, and over the last few years, my posting of videos have been less and less. And as you may have been able to tell from the thumbnail and from the title of this video, the reason is because about 2.5 months ago, I had a major stroke. And I want to sit here and discuss that because I want to make this video as well for friends and family, so I can get into some of the details of what's been going on. And I've got a story to tell, and it's going to sound crazy. Now, excuse me, I do not have my teeth because I have lost them, and I'm waiting to get new teeth fitted. Oddly enough, I lost them. They fell out of my pocket when I went to get an echocardiogram. But I'm getting ahead of myself here. I'm going to talk about a few things, and hopefully, yeah, this also helped me make sense of a lot of things too. So, yes, having a stroke, which I was 50 years old when that happened, but I turned 51 last month. And please bear with me, because part of the problems with having strokes and stuff, I'm going to go over the symptoms and things, is issues with speech, and that has been affecting me a long time. Some things I've got to cover here. This is not a new thing for me, because it turns out I have quite literally been having strokes for 20 years. Yes, you heard me right, for 20 years. And I've been getting misdiagnosed for all that time. So it's quite incredible that I'm actually alive, because how many people pull through a single major stroke, let alone 20 years of having strokes. So yeah, I'll explain that story too. But yeah, let's jump to the brainfoundation.org site and take a look at a couple of things about this stroke in particular and what it's done to me and how it affects me. So here we go. And as it says, stroke is a medical emergency. If you or somebody else near you is having or may be having a stroke or transient ischemic attack, I think ischemic is the way that that's pronounced, you should go to hospital. Call your country's emergency line, 000 in Australia, immediately. Here you'll find information on how to tell if you are having a stroke, prevention, and the process of treatment and recovery. Now, the fact is, 20 years of this shit, and the first hospital visit I had was the last one that basically almost killed me. I mean, hey, you want to see what happened on the day? Here's some video from my security camera footage of the day. So a couple of female ambulance officers turned up, and I was too big for them, so they had to get some firemen to come out and to carry me outside to get on the gurney, because my car being parked by the front door, they couldn't get the gurney past it. Don't worry about the car. It's gone. Doesn't exist anymore, so you won't be able to dox me from the number plate. And while you can see me raising my left leg to get up onto the gurney, it's not shown in the video, but I actually had to grab my right leg and lift it up and have control over the right side of my body at all. So, with me, there are a couple of different types of stroke you can have. You'll have to excuse me because I am still struggling with my speech. I'll explain the whole story of what happened. There's a hemorrhagic stroke. Hemorrhagic stroke. Anyway, which is a cerebral hemorrhage bleed. And that's when your blood vessel actually ruptures. Where the one I had is the ischemic stroke here, the ischemic clot stroke, which is you get a clot in your artery that carries blood around your brain, and it got blocked. Ischemic strokes are the most common type of stroke, occurring more than 5 times as often as a hemorrhagic stroke. Again, please bear with me with my pronunciations. Now, another important one is this one here, a mini clot, or a mini stroke is called a transient ischemic attack, a TIA. Now, about 30% of patients who subsequently have an ischemic stroke have a small warning episode termed a transient ischemic attack. TIA is like an ischemic stroke. in that it results in the sudden loss of function of a particular part of the body because of sudden lack of blood flow to a part of the brain. The main difference between a TIA and ischemic stroke is that in a TIA, the symptoms disappear completely within 24 hours. In 75% of cases, the symptoms clear within 1 hour. Only within a few minutes, because a blockage in the artery clears itself very quickly before the affected brain tissue has died. A TIA is a very important warning that the person is at increased risk of future stroke. It is essential that proper medical treatment is sought so that the risks can be significantly reduced. Stroke is the third most common cause of death in Australia and leading causes of disability. About 55,000 Australians have strokes annually, 73% of these being the first ever strokes. Now, this bit here, this is going to be important when I tell you my story. Of 100 stroke patients, about 30 will die in the first year after their stroke. So I am at risk of dying within the next 12 months. There's generally a 2-year recovery period after you've had a stroke. About 70% will survive. So they say 100 stroke patients. So 30% of stroke patients will die in the first year after they've had it, and 70% will survive, of whom 35 will remain permanently disabled at 1 year afterwards, 10 of whom require care in a nursing home or other long-term facility. 35 are not disabled to the point of affecting their independence and activities of daily living. 10 will have recovered completely, and 25 will not be able to do everything they could previously, but will be able to care for themselves independently. 85% with ischemic stroke survive, 50% with hemorrhagic stroke. Of all the neurological disorder, stroke is the largest single cause of adult disability. For a 45-year-old, the risk of having a stroke by age 85 is 1 in 4 men, 1 in 5 women. Okay. So anyway, we'll go over that, and the TIAs are going to be very, very, very important. So let's start from the beginning. I used to live in Tasmania, and when I was down there, my friends and family will know this story. I've told them, but there's a lot more details here I'm going to add on in the future, and I'm going to make a separate video for them also, because, yeah, there's some crazy shit that goes on with this, and it's going to probably surprise a lot of people. But, yes, roughly 20 years ago, when I was about 30, I had these 2 fingers here go numb. I literally got, and then the skin on my hand felt tight and stuff, and this hand started being weird. And this numbness in my skin traveled up to my elbow, and I went and saw doctors, and at the time, and they said they thought it might have been a pinched nerve in my elbow. So I had to wait weeks and weeks and weeks for this pinched nerve to heal up. About, I'd say, a month and a half after that, I woke up one day and I could feel the numbness from my elbow in a 24-hour period. The numbness, like this here, that took like a couple of months to spread up to my elbow. Then I woke up one day, and from the elbow up to my shoulder, it started spreading. It went up the side of my face, up my neck, and down the completely left side of my body. And I lost control of my limbs, because it turns out I was semi-paralyzed, and I didn't realize it. I went back to doctors and things like that. Did they check me for clots or strokes or anything like that? No. They booked me in for a neurologist that I had to go and see about a year later, a private neurologist. The week before I went to see him, he was skiing in New Zealand, and he hit a tree and died, unfortunately. So in Tasmania, he was the only private neurologist. So then I got put onto the public list, and that was going to take about 2 years. And fortunately, I had met my partner and had to move up to Queensland so that I could be with her. And I was also hoping that, but getting up into Queensland, there'd be a lot more specialists and better medical care in terms of hospitals and things like that than what I had received in Tasmania. So for years now, I kept on having all these weird feelings too, like if I do housework or I work on my car or I was doing chores, and as the years have gone on, it's getting harder and harder, I would have these things where I would get dizzy. I'd feel nauseous. my speech would slur. I'd basically talk like Yoda while it was happening. And again, I went to doctors. I saw doctors. I went and saw neurologists and things like that. The neurologists were looking at things like multiple sclerosis and motor neurons disease, which I'm glad to say it wasn't either of those. And this has cost me a lot of money over the years to trying to find out what the hell is wrong with me. Yeah, so you see this neurologist had to drive 4 hours to Bundaberg to go see him, paying hundreds of dollars and stuff like that. And I saw him for about 5 minutes because he took my current brain scans and he just sort of like put them up in front. You know, you have those x-ray viewers, the light box that they put them up in. And he was just like not putting them up there and really studying them. He's just, because the reason why, he was looking for the obvious scars on my brain. And he didn't see scars on my brain, so he was like, it's not MS. And he even started implying that it might be in my head. He's like, oh, it's 99% a real thing wrong with you. Something's happening to you. Because there's even issues with my immune system when they did blood tests and things that came back. And at some point, my own immune system was attacking my own body, the healthy cells. Thank God, I believe that's gone away. But yes, these lightheadedness and things like that, it was kind of crazy. Now, there's a lot of conditions in this world that have overlapping traits. You know, that's when two diseases share the same traits and things like that. And the symptoms I had matched up with a lot of things. But even when I went back to the doctors and they were saying, maybe it's psychosomatic, maybe psychosomatic. But even then it was like, okay, if it's psychosomatic, what can we do about it? And, they're just sort of like shrugging their shoulders and things. Because psychosomatic is not hypochondria. Psychosomatic is, say you're stressed out, stress gives you a heart attack, so your heart attack was a psychosomatic thing. Because they understood that something real was happening to my body, they just couldn't work out what. Long story short is, when I wasn't getting solutions from doctors, saw him for a few years, get nowhere, so I'd go find other doctors and things like that. When they tested me, and that sucked because you start from the beginning, and the same thing. They tested me even for epilepsy, and I'm like, I'm not epileptic, as you know. I'm a bloody gamer. I sit in front of a computer every day, and if I had epilepsy, it'd be realised a long time ago. Plus, I'm not stroking. I mean, not stroking. I'm not having a fit or anything like that. I'm not lying on the floor going and things. And the problem is as well, I'm quite an intelligent person, thanks to my classic Asperger's syndrome profile. I was an A-grade student and stuff in school. And, well, an IT guy as well, I started doing my own research, looking into this on things I could go suggest to the doctors to do. Because these tests and stuff they were doing to me, I'd go back in and they'd say, oh, yeah, going to send you off to a test. And I'd say I'd have a test at the local hospital here. Then they'd organise another test where I'd have to go down to Brisbane, to the Brisbane hospital, 10 hours away. And then you find that they just did the same tests over and over. I see different doctors, same tests. One was a nerve conduction test where they attach an electrode here, an electrode there, send electricity through your arm and see if it responds properly. And it did. But I'm getting ahead of myself here because, with the semi-paralysis, why don't I look paralysis? Because usually when you have a stroke and stuff, they give you physical therapy. But I wasn't acknowledged as having had a stroke at the age of 30. And I wasn't offered any physiotherapy or anything like that. I had to teach myself to get control of my body again. Because, I'm left-handed. And, if I held a key, if I went to put a key in the door, it would be like this. I literally had to be right-handed. I couldn't even sign my own name because I'm a left-handed person. So having your left side was hard. And even now, I still have to basically consciously think, even though I can move just fine. You threw me a cricket ball, I would be able to catch it like a normal person. But it takes a lot of effort. When I do chores and things like most people do, it wears me out. My muscles and everything on this side of the body are screwed. My face and this left side of my body, it feels like if you've ever had an anaesthetic while you're at a dentist, and it's starting to wear off and you're getting feeling back, it's like that. It's sort of like my face looks normal, but it feels like my face feels like this. and I can't feel my internal organs on the left side of my body. So if I get the cold or the flu, my right lung will get sore and tender like they normally do when you get a flu and have been coughing for a few weeks. Nothing on my left side. And it's affected everything from the way I get hunger and stuff like that. Now, the problem is with this recent one, this recent major stroke, it's now affected the right side of my body, but because I had an ambulance come and get me and they've done surgery on me, the damage wasn't as bad. But this last stroke also enforced the damage on this. It's a lot harder now to control the left side of my body. Now, this is several months ago, and I haven't really had any follow-up treatment or anything like that. I've only had one appointment with a speech therapist who's quite happy with how well my speech recovered. Because when this stroke happened, like my partner Gizmo came home, she found me actually that day. Here's a crazy story. That day, because I rent, the house had a property inspection. And this is what caused the stroke. And this is the problem with all those other symptoms I was saying, where you get dizzy and nauseated for years and things like that. Literally feel like you're dying. My whole life's been scary every goddamn day. Every day I wake up, I'm so grateful. Because, yes, that day I had to do all this housework and stuff and working hard. Which is funny because I had a feeling something was going to happen. So a few months ago, I bought a robot vacuum cleaner and mop. But this particular day, because it was an inspection, I did, because it keeps things clean, but it has trouble getting in the corner. So I was running around catching up on top of the robot vax work and stuff like that. And I started feeling that dizziness, that nausea, all those weird symptoms I normally get. And I sat down on the couch because I just felt like I was about to collapse. So I sat down on the couch, and then I couldn't raise my right arm or move my left leg. I was trying to get up, and instead of getting up, I slid off the couch and down onto the floor, and I sat there on the floor for an hour or two, struggling, trying to drag myself up with my left arm and left leg. And I did eventually manage to get myself up off the floor and sort of like hopped to my bedroom and fell down on the bed. And the problem was my phone was up here in my back room where my computer stuff is. So I couldn't even call for help. I couldn't even get out of the bed or out of the living room to get back into where my phone was. And okay, so I fell down on the bed when I heard a female voice. Hi, it's real estate. Anybody home? Hello, hello. And I'm trying to call out, and I go, that's what my speech was like. Now, this woman, this real estate agent, walks in. She comes into the bedroom and sees me on the bed, and I'm looking up at her like this, and she was looking me dead in the eye, and she goes, hi, I'm here to do the inspection, blah, 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 and then wandered off. Well, I'm sitting there going, trying to say, excuse me, can you call me an ambulance? I'm kind of fucked here. But all that was coming out was me going, so this woman probably thought I was some goddamn crackhead or something passed out of my bed, especially because, hey, look at my teeth too. Yes, because that's another thing that this stroke history of mine has done to me, unfortunately, is I go to businesses and things like that, and I've literally had people asking me if I take drugs, because when your speech is slurred, when you're staggering, and you got teeth like mine, they instantly think that you're a junkie. It's quite insulting. Yeah. So, right. So I had a major stroke 20 years ago, and a major stroke recently, 20 years later, and I've been having strokes nearly every day for 20 years. Not every day. These TIAs, the mini strokes that they're called. For 20 years, I've been having those. And those have been getting more, well, obviously worse over the years. And I went to doctors, and I even end up, through my own research, have told doctors, and even I had friends that I'd talked to, and even my online mates on Discord and stuff, when I was telling them what's happened to me, a few of them too were like, I think you're having mini strokes. And I'm like, well, according to my research, yeah, I'm having mini strokes. And I went and I told these doctors that I was seeing that I'm pretty sure it's a mini stroke. And they just rolled their eyes. Because it was basically like, oh, yes, Dr. Google. And the funny thing is, I could have gone to university. I was basically intelligent enough that I could have become a neurosurgeon. I could have, become a doctor myself. I just don't want to be sticking my hands in people's brains and blood and guts and things like that. But yes, had a lot of that eye-rolling thing. But oh my God, now that they actually know it's a stroke, how their attitudes have changed. But even then, now with treatment and stuff like that, since I got out, I've seen my GP. I've had no follow-up visits with the hospital, except for an echocardiogram, which is basically an ultrasound for your chest. It feels like they're looking for a chest burster in Aliens. I actually had 2 of those. My GP had booked me one, so I went and paid $300 for that one, and then the hospital had booked me one the next day, but they told me it was a cardio follow-up. I think they're checking my heart and stuff. I didn't realise it was going to be another one of those echocardiograms. And it was for free the next day, so I could have had it done the next day for nothing, as well as it was more thorough. The one at the hospital, they actually use saline and there's a bubble system. So when they're on there, they're pumping bubbles into you through an IV. And thankfully, my heart is in good condition. And so, yes, 20 years, it turns out I've been having these TIAs, these mini strokes. Sometimes it could be once a month. Sometimes it could be several times a week. Now, as it says, because of damage, it's physical damage. There's nothing wrong with my brain chemistry. I've actually had that tested before. My brain chemistry is fine. So if I get depressed and stuff like that, I can't take antidepressants or anything because there's nothing wrong with the chemistry. Anything that pisses me off in my life, it's always external, like a lot of this medical stuff I'm talking about. But basically, for 20 years now, like I say, a year afterwards, 2 years afterwards, they told me 2-year recovery period. When you have a stroke, I've been having them non-stop for 20 years, so my brain has quite literally been rewiring itself. And this last one, I can say it's really messed with my head, being a major stroke, the same way as it messed with me 20-odd years ago. That's my original first stroke. Because let's try and have a look here at how this goes. Again, back to the site here. And it shows the risk and stuff like that. Yeah, I'm a smoker, so that hasn't helped. I'm trying to quit. Yeah, all the rehabilitation stuff they show here. Rehabilitation unit in the hospital, a rehabilitation hospital, home therapy, home with outpatient therapy, a long-term care facility that provides therapy and skilled nursing. I ain't had none of this sort of shit. As you can see here. All I've got is I've been given an appointment with a speech pathologist who was quite surprised that I basically learned how to talk again within 3 days. And it's like, well, because I've been doing this for 20 years myself. And thankfully, talking to a friend online, my mate Helix, helped with it. It's like right now, my partner's at work and I've been home every day by myself. So if I have another stroke, I'm fucked because I'm here alone. I actually rang up the Stroke Foundation today because they gave me this folder here. Because, I got a folder there while I was in hospital that I forgot about. And so I rang this mob that's listed on here, the Stroke Foundation. Open Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. It's a Monday. Rang them up and they're like, we're closed today. Leave your number and shit to get back. Because I have basically been dealing with this myself, as I have for the last 20 years. I'm alienated from my family and my children live in other states. So like most people, if they have a stroke, if their partner's unable to help them, their children and stuff like that might come around. No, I've been doing this myself for 20 years now. And it's crazy how fatal strokes can be. And here I am, still kicking. Fucking call me Superman. But yeah, let's look at some of the things I am currently suffering. The basics by looking at the effects of it. Because here's another problem too, is over the years I've run my own businesses. I've done some quite laborious jobs. I've even worked at Australia Post while I've been having mini strokes and stuff like that. And now this has basically killed my ability to work. And the funny thing is I've worked with people. I've helped friends move house and everything like that over the years. While I'm doing this, I've literally had these TIA mini strokes while I'm helping friends work because physical labor actually does it. But the problem is I don't look ill from the outside. And so when I'm not able to help friends out and stuff like that, it's amazing how many people have accused me of being lazy. And I just want to say to anybody who's watching that has thought I'm a lazy person, go have one stroke. Go have one stroke and tell me how lazy you are. And then go have fucking 20 years of the damn things. There's a reason why I've been like the last couple of decades, I've been working smarter, not harder. But this thing has made some major change to personality and stuff. But let's look at the effects of strokes. So my first stroke was the right side of my brain because it's affected the left side of my body. This current one, this time, it is the left side of my brain and has affected the right side of my body. And the only treatment I'm getting now since I got out of hospital is I've got to take fucking 4 of these. And I have been told the aspirin, I'll be taking that every day for the rest of my life. So I've got to get up, and when I get up in the morning, I've got to take one of these, so 4 tablets a fucking day. I think the blood thinners and things like that, because doctors haven't explained much to me. Because when I was in the hospital, I was in hospital for 3 days, got flown down to Brisbane. They did the surgery there. Then I got flown back. Got chucked into emergency, and it was just stressing me out. So I was like, right, I'm going home, because it turns out you can wait up to 2 days in emergency, even though you're part of the hospital system, to get put up into the cardio and stroke unit. And the funny thing was, they gave me a particular drug that made me more normal than I have been in life, but you can only have it in the hospital. They inject it into your stomach. And everything, man, even the numbness and muscle problems and shit all went away. I've tried talking to my GPs and other doctors about this, and it's just like in one ear and out the other. I said, I'm not saying that you can give me that drug because it needs to be administered, but there's something about that drug, that obviously is helping me. But I've only ever had it while I was in the hospital or when I went back into emergency, because I tell you, if you're having these symptoms of stroke and stuff like that, do it. But the problem is, when you have these strokes and they clear up, because like it says, it could be an hour later it disappears, or you're feeling better within 24 hours. And so the times I have called the doctors and shit or gone up to a hospital emergency room, the stroke's passed, and they look at me like there's nothing wrong with me, and they tell me to go home and take some fucking ibuprofen for the migraines and shit that I have afterwards. Because I have this thing where it's like a crack in my vision. It starts as a crack and then it expands out. And if you go to optometrists, some of them have pictures of this thing on the wall. And it was like, I've been trying to tell people about this for years and felt like I'm crazy. And they've looked at me like I'm crazy. But no, it's an aura migraine. And I discovered this thing myself online as well, but I couldn't find any images that showed the way this little electric crack shows up in your vision. And it expands out. When it expands out, once it's outside my vision and gone, bam, massive migraine. And despite that, for 20 years, I've been functioning. I've been trying to produce my content. So let's switch back to the symptoms I'm suffering and discussing those. So here we are. Effects, and it's also, depends on what side of the brain you have, is what it can affect. Okay, a thing about the brain as well is, that's crazy, is because I'm left-handed, so I'm right-brained. Only 14% of the world is left-handed. Now, the thing is, the right side of your brain is your artistic and creative side. This is why I'm such an imaginative person and stuff like that, and artistic and things. Well, I used to be artistic when I could pick up a pen and actually draw and paint and sculpt, or I can still sculpt and things like that. My drawing and stuff, and I used to be quite good at drawing. And it's like if I hold a pen, so say I'm holding a pen, I'll be writing, and as I write, my hand starts cramping up, man. My fingers and things, my knuckles and stuff can go up there because I have really terrible cramping these days since this crap happened to my body. So I can't even hold a pen for too long. And the left side of your brain is the practical side. That's the side of your brain when you're doing carpentry and you're building things, or being a labourer, doing labourers jobs and things like that. But where the right brain is the artistic side, So we'll switch here. Effects of stroke. The most common problems in daily life are likely to be caused by weakness or lack of movement, paralysis in legs and or arms, trouble speaking, reading or writing, Changes to the way things are felt when touched. Sensory problems. Problems thinking or remembering. Cognitive problems. Changes to way things are seen or felt. Perceptual problems. Shoulder pain. Trouble swallowing. Incontinence. Feeling depressed. Problems controlling feelings. Tiredness/fatigue. The specific abilities that will be lost or affected by stroke depend on the extent of the brain damage and, most importantly, where in the brain the stroke occurred, the right hemisphere or half, or the left hemisphere, the cerebellum, or the brain stem. Because the thing with strokes and stuff like that is you can undergo major personality changes. And the thing is, people I've heard that have had strokes, their relatives have said, "Oh wow, they're almost like a completely different person," or they don't like this or that anymore. And this last time, it really put the nail in the coffin with a few things. The ones like depression, apparent changes in personality. This is where yes, here we go. So we get down here, other effects of stroke, depression. Well, no shit, man. If you're feeling like crap every day and you're not getting help, you're going to feel a bit depressed. Apparent changes in personality. This is going to be one that's going to be very relevant to me and my friends and family. Apparent changes in personality following a stroke may be very disturbing to the survivor's family. Stroke-affected people may not seem the same person as before. The way in which they think, feel, and react may be altered. Problems and activities once tackled easily may be difficult or impossible, while other tasks are unaffected. Sudden laughing or crying for no apparent reason and difficulty controlling emotional responses also affects many stroke survivors. There may be little happiness or sadness involved, and the excessive emotional display will end as quickly as it started. The way in which the person affected by stroke reacts to these changes will affect their personality and may cause changes in control of emotions and behaviour. People affected by stroke may become confused, self-centered, uncooperative, and irritable. And the last one that shows there is fatigue. It's also commonly described after a stroke. The mechanisms that produce fatigue after a stroke are still unclear, but is constantly described by stroke survivors and survivors of other forms of injury. Because all the symptoms I've listed there, I am currently suffering all of them. And there's one that I really want to discuss with people that's going to be difficult when the time comes, that I have had a complete change of personality. I have basically been wearing a mask because, you all know me as Rabid, but my real name is Trevor. I prefer Trev, but I don't prefer that anymore because I no longer feel like that guy. And technically, I am no longer that man because my brain's wiring is completely different to what his was, but I'll get into that another time. But yes, everything where they're talking about changes in things that interest and stuff like that. As you can see behind me, it's a bit blurred, but I've got more 3D printers now. I don't have the big 3D. I've still got my Ender 3 Max, but I went and bought some Ender 3 V3s that I set up, and I've got one that I haven't unboxed yet that I was going to do an unboxing video on and then cover the setup and what I've got going there and things. But since this stroke, once I woke up from it, all my desires and motivations are different. I've come here and I'm just like, looking at these 3D printers, and where I used to get excited about them, it doesn't register anything. Shows, movies, and things like that I was still interested in, I look at them now and it's just like, what is this? It's completely different. My normal filters now, I don't have filters at the best of the time, but those sort of ones, they're gone too. I've got to really bite my tongue and put an effort in it because I've got a sudden urge to call people out on their bullshit and stuff like that. But yes, also apathy and things like that. Going through a lot of things. It's crazy because your memories and stuff like that, they're yours, but they don't feel like they're yours. But yeah, I'll get into that later. But this is why what I've been going through, and I'm still going through it because after I got out of the hospital, for a few weeks, I didn't have any of those TIA symptoms and stuff like that. I thought, wow, maybe after clearing out this clot from this major stroke, that they fixed it. They fixed everything now, and especially now I'm on these tablets. But the problem is, several weeks after I got out of the hospital, those symptoms of the TIAs started coming back. The problem is now they're even worse because the left side of my body, the semi-paralysis that I had control over, and the muscle aches it used to cause, and the fatigue and stuff like that. It is just so much, like 10 times worse now. 10 times worse. And since the stroke happened, I've been sitting at home for the last 2 or 3 months by myself during the day, because my partner's now the current breadwinner. I've got to live off of my savings, sort of thing, myself. Now is, she goes to work all day. She comes home, she's buggered. She's tired. She's a postie, so she's out in the sun all day long, out and about, working her ass off. And she helps me as best as she can. But yeah, she gets home, she gets tired, and with my memory and getting forgetful, there's things I have to do, because unfortunately, it looks like I might have to see if I can get onto a disability payment and have her become my carer. Because like it says there, most on that site, a lot of people that suffer strokes are disabled. But the problem is with me, I learnt to stand up and walk straight and push through it when I feel like this when I'm walking down the street. I walk up nice and straight and stuff like that, because you don't want people judging you and shit like that. And it's really, and this one time it has really affected my speech, because after I got out of the stroke, like I said, I could not talk. It was so hard trying to talk to doctors and things like that. And even then, I had to ask the bloody doctors on the third day, okay, well, one of you doctors come and talk to me and tell me what the fuck I'm doing in here, what happened to me and shit like that. They didn't come and tell me. The best they told me was, oh, you had a stroke. I was like, and they're like, oh yeah, you had surgery and had the stroke removed. Okay, and that's it, really? It was like, well, apparently, somehow, they went in through my groin, but I couldn't see any holes or anything like that, so I'm worried about how they got in. If they used an orifice or made one of their own. And that's it. And since I've been out of hospital, I've been home alone. I go see my GP, who's I can't see until, because last time I saw them was early in December, and I couldn't see them until end of January. Because, man, it's amazing how many GPs take holidays these days for months at a time. And things like that. But she's been a whole lot better. But it's amazing, because the thing they've been putting down on my medical files for years now, what did they say that I had? A condition called fibromyalgia. What is fibromyalgia? Well, let's take a look at it. Why? Because I get numb skin and muscle pain, chronic muscle pain. Okay, so, and it leaves people a little bit tired. But 90% of the people who get fibromyalgia are women. It's very rare for men to get. Well, 10% of men can get it. I think Morgan Freeman's actually got fibromyalgia. But let's have a look here. Here's an overview. Fibromyalgia is a chronic disorder that causes widespread pain throughout the body, often accompanied by other symptoms such as fatigue, sleep disturbances, and cognitive difficulties, often referred to as fibro fog. So, in a sense, I can understand why many doctors kept on going back to fibromyalgia, which is basically what they diagnose you with if they can't work out what it actually is. The thing is, though, fibromyalgia does not give you fucking semi-paralysis. It doesn't give you paralysis at all. And for years now, like, I quite literally got Facebook posts from years ago where I saying, oh man, I'm pretty sure I'm having strokes and everything like that. But the doctors roll their eyes at me, but how can I work this out? But they can't. But yeah, it's been a crazy and wild experience. And again, I've got a physiotherapist. I'm getting a physiotherapist through my GP, but I'm like, well, what are they going to do for me? I've learned how to do physiotherapy myself. Look at this. I've got control of my body back. I've got my speech back, but I'm seeing a speech therapist. I will give her credit. The speech therapist at the hospital has been the one person I've actually been able to sit down and talk to about things and saying, yeah, basically, mate, you're right. I've even talked to ChatGPT about some of the stuff going on inside my head, thinking, wow, man, am I crazy or what? And it's like, nope, man, everything's fine. This is, you know what you're experiencing? It happens to a lot of people who have strokes, and that they also have difficulty explaining to people. Like, I could come out and say right now what's going on, but I know it's going to sound insane to some people. This is why I'm trying to cover the medical side of things. And I'm going to like I said, get into that. So yeah, I was misdiagnosed, and even then on my medical records, the fibromyalgia had 3 question marks under it, because they weren't even sure it was that. and stuff like that. And I've never heard of people fibromyalgia having symptoms and they think they're going to die. And even now, while I'm talking in this video, I'm basically having TIA symptoms, and especially in this arm, because look, just from moving this arm around, all my muscles are now sore from this video, just from speaking with my hands to you guys. This feels like I've been lifting 10-kilo weight for the last hour. The chronic pain and shit like that. But yeah, I really had no treatment since I got out, except for these tablets. And I don't know what the future brings. Tomorrow, somebody from the Brisbane hospital is ringing me, so I've got a phone appointment. But the local hospital has basically told me I'm not their problem. That after the echocardiogram I had with them, they basically said, "Oh, it's not my problem. I've got to go see my GP, or if I have symptoms, to call an ambulance." But as I said, it's difficult because I'm here by myself. So if I had a major stroke, I wouldn't be able to ring unless I glue my phone to me. But there's nothing to say that it'll knock me out that I can't even ring the phone, call on the phone. And I'm basically taking care of myself the same way I've been taking care of myself for the last 20 years, because I've had like I said, I've had no support except for Gizmo, really, and a couple of friends providing moral support. So yeah, that's where we're at. Because but the point is, I have a lot of videos from the last few years where I'm reviewing things like my new computer. I bought probably about March this year, but yeah, midway through the year, I bought a new computer. Here's a quick look. That is a $6,000 computer. I've now got a GeForce RTX 5080, 64 gig of Kingston Fury, a Ryzen 7 9800 X3D, and it's a beast of a gaming computer, but it's also a beast of AI stuff. And I wanted to do basically an unboxing and setup video of this and discuss how good it is. Would I suggest you spend $6,000 on such a computer? Hell no. No, I've never spent that much money to a computer, and I never will again. I just decided to spoil myself because I guess I sort of had feelings that I could potentially be dead sometime soon. And it still is a realistic thing that I could drop dead at any time in the next year. Who knows? Not me. It's quite scary, actually, because there's times I go to bed and I have these symptoms, and the way my brain starts going weird, and I literally think my brain's just about turn off. The same with those emotions and things like that. There are times I'm sitting there thinking about things that don't make sense and stuff in this world, and I just start crying. And it's like, wait, why the hell am I thinking and feeling like this? Why? Because my brain's being rewired. Has been constantly being rewired, and it's rewiring itself from major damage now. And it has been killing my desire to do things. It's literally misdiagnosis has wasted half of my life. And it's affected how I am. I've got zero interest in social media and stuff anymore. I am quite literally a different person now. But it hasn't been as noticeable because it's been happening over 20 years. Well, even the stuff I want to post to YouTube and everything, that's all changing. I'm still interested in the technology and stuff, but it's just sort of weird. Because, yeah, let's find my video folder here. Yeah, so here you go. In Windows Explorer, you see Rabid's video projects. I've got a bunch of folders in there with a bunch of projects, but here's the Ender 3 stuff. There's literally 30 gigabytes of video in here that I've recorded. I've got various stuff all over the place. So, like there's a bunch of videos there. And that was for the actual Creality touchscreen. Did that ages ago, but haven't done the review for it. Yeah, here's the Sprite Pro, and that is just a nozzle that I put on there, a new print head. And elsewhere on the computer, I have an even bigger one of where I basically rebuild the whole printer. And that is just the printer stuff. That doesn't include the VR stuff. That doesn't include gaming and stuff like that, because I bought a bunch. Thankfully, I've bought a bunch of VR games, but since the stroke, of finding it hard to do VR, like wearing the helmet on my head, it makes me feel weird. I can push through it, but it makes it unenjoyable. So I've got like about 100 apps and games, about, I would say 83 or 85 of those are the actual games that I want to do reviews on and compare like PC versions to the Quest 3 versions, you know, because that's why I want to do those cross-buy ones where, you know, Quest has games where, because I was doing videos on VR chat, for example, because there's literally 3 versions of VR chat that I can use. That's the Steam VR chat, PC VR, the Quest 3 standalone version, as well as the Quest 3 PC VR version. And stuff like that, because some of those videos I was making where I was comparing, you know, flight games and stuff like that, that are the same games on the different platforms, seem to be getting popular. But as we saw, I started getting lazy again and stopped going back to video editing and shit like that, and it's got to change. So, yeah. I am going to try and make more videos in future. My content may be slightly changing because I think there's a lot more in the world that I want to discuss and talk about than just gaming. I don't know whether I should make another channel for that sort of stuff or if I just want to post it here because it's just the same sort of thing. It's going to get hard to manage multiple channels and stuff like that. And that's the problem why my video's always been sort of crap, because I've been literally on this account, because I used to have an old Doom TV one that's long gone. I've ever uploaded some videos of that. It's because literally, since I started Rabid's Unbreakable Gamers, I have been having strokes that entire time. It was so hard. And I've had a few moments where I've been fairly okay for a little bit, and I've managed to edit and do videos. And I'm trying to buy games and stuff like that, but I've got to stop buying games because I'm buying games and I'm just not playing them. Yeah, my life is one massive mess at the moment. And unfortunately, yeah, it's going to be hard for me because, as always, I'm going to be doing helping myself. Unfortunately, that's just how it is. If I think of a 70-year-old man, I'd be getting the help that I need. But I'm a 50-year-old man who doesn't look like he's having strokes. And I can't help it. It's unfortunately part of my brain. I can't, like I said, I can't stop walking normally and things like that. I've gotten too used to controlling my body. It's like, do I got to fake it? Do I got to fake it? I'm like, I slur my speech and shit like that. Because I learned to speak again within 3 days. And I still have problems with that. I'll be halfway through a conversation and my brain will just go blank. And I haven't forgotten. It's just the brain goes blank. And I'll be like, holy crap, I can't remember what I was talking about. And it's like it'll come back at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. The files are all there. It's just they've been thrown up in the air and they're all on the floor now. They're not in the filing cabinet anymore. So, and that's the same sort of thing too. It's been getting harder and harder over the years and stuff. You know, I sit down and write a script and get halfway through it. And I don't just go blank. It's almost like writer's block or creative block. And it's quite literally, it hasn't been my fault. There's nothing, well, it's my brain's fault, but not my consciousness' fault. Yeah, I don't know what else to go into. That's it. I'm basically fucked. And unless I get proper assistance from doctors and other people, I'm going to be even more fucked. And there's probably going to be a good chance that I will be technically dead, literally dead. And I think that can happen at any moment. Story of my life. Won't you believe it? It's just my luck. So anyway, there's the update. That's what's happening with me. I've been having a stroke for 20 years. Well, not having a stroke. I've been having many strokes for 20 years. From a couple of times a month to every day of a week. So like right now, I'm having a TIA episode, but if I call an ambulance, I'm just going to end up sitting up at the hospital for fucking all day long. Or longer, and they're just going to end up sending me home once it passes, and they can't find anything on their scans and things like that for it. Seems you got to have a fucking major stroke to be taken seriously, because even then, talking to doctors, I talk about the damage that's done on my left side body from the original stroke and the ongoing damage from 20 years of these TIAs, And they just basically turn around and go, oh, no, we're focused on the last stroke you had. We're not looking at that. And it's like, but that's damage that's done. And now the damage done on my left side body has gotten worse from this last major stroke. So how the hell are you meant to get help when you say things like this and you get no help? Where they're just like, oh, no, now we're worried about your current stroke. We're not worried about the damage that's on your left side of your body. And it's things like this. I've got to remain calm. This is why I've been so calm for so many years, because the same thing, I start getting excitable. It's not just physical labor, but if I start getting stressed out, if I start getting angry, if I start getting really hypo with the way I talk and stuff like that, I start getting the symptoms, which means that it causes, if I'm not chill as hell and not doing anything, I will have a mini stroke every day. It's only when I'm super chill, it lowers it, because like right now I'm getting that crack in my vision. So I'm going to have to end the video there to prevent further damage being done to myself. And I'm going to have to go have a lie down and try, and hopefully this current TIA I'm experiencing passes. This is also helping me try to process this thing, because it's not like I'm getting any sort of therapy. I'm not seeing a psychologist or anything like that, or any counseling. No medical follow-ups, except for this phone call from a doctor tomorrow, months after I've been in, and a shitload of prescriptions. So once these run out, I can refill them again without seeing a doctor. And I've got to say, man, I'm taking these tablets and I don't feel any different. I don't feel any different. I'm still having fucking mini strokes. So they're obviously not doing jack shit for me. Thank you very much for watching. I value my friends and my subscribers and things. And hopefully I'm going to try and recover and hopefully get back to making proper content and doing a better job at it. But that's realistically not going to happen until I get the medical help that I need. And hopefully this answers a few people about why I've been coming the way that I have been becoming over the last couple of decades. So you all have the greatest life going. I want to wish you all that, because, hey, this could be the last time I talk to you, because you never know when one of these TIAs is going to turn into a major stroke and fucking kill me. It's a realistic possibility. I'm not being dramatic here. Hell, if I didn't have to worry about doxing and shit like that, I'd go get the medical reports and crap and show you everything that's listed in them. But this is a very real situation. I'm a guy who's been having a stroke since he was 30 years old. Sadly, so far, nothing has changed. Well, it has changed. It's gotten worse. Anyway, this is Rabid out. Bye-bye. Hopefully catch you on the next video. That there will be a next video. And I'll hopefully have my teeth for that. All right. I'm out of here. Bye-bye.